Hi, I am Jodi Hansen, and I have had the privilege to help be a caretaker for many family members. And the last thing we ever wanted to do was to put them into a facility. That was a very difficult decision for us. And we chose to hold off as long as we could in order to do that. We, with my dad, we started out with looking at a lot of different places and seeing what was available. And my dad liked rich things, and he liked to see things that were magnificent. And we started out in a facility that was very beautiful and had a lot of beautiful paintings and lighting. And what we learned was that it was very pretty, but the service was not as exceptional. Uh, there was not a lot of contact with my dad. It was if he came down to dinner or breakfast, then that was fine. If he didn't, then there was nobody that really noticed that. We moved him to a new facility that was clean, but very average, and he really thrived there. The people there really took him under their wing and had him be a part of everything. He was not a morning person at all. He did not like getting up in the mornings. And so they had kind of a set time for breakfast, and it was very early in the morning. And one of the things that really helped was they realized that that just was not going to work for him. And so they had him, they saved a breakfast for him so that when he woke up, then he would come down and get his breakfast and warm it up. And that was such a big thing. It doesn't sound like a huge thing, but for us, it was really big because he had diabetes, and him eating when he took his insulin was very important. And there were times that he would take his insulin because it was morning and hadn't eaten. And that, of course, created a lot of problems. So just having a place that was willing to take him for who he was and try and accommodate his needs rather than him having to go with the way the program already was set up was a huge thing for us. There were a lot of activities that they did that was very helpful for him to feel comfortable and feel like he was involved. He had a huge garden as when he was living at home, and he loved gardening. And they just had a small little area that they planted tomatoes and had the people that lived there be involved in that. And that was a really big thing for him to be able to feel like he kind of had some of his old self there, and that really made a huge difference for him. One of the things that was really important is when the facility and the people that worked at the facility really recognized who he was, and they learned about what he was like before. When he was in his last few months or years, he was not the same person that he was when he was younger and vibrant and doing a lot of things. He loved to fish. He had foster kids for many, many years. He did a lot of fun things, and they didn't know that about him because they hadn't seen that part. They had kind of seen the person who, if he couldn't remember something, he was kind of grumpy. And so it's really important to find out from family or find out from him or the person that what they were like, and maybe even have a poster of different things that they did when they were younger, and just get to know the person so that as you walk in, you can kind of see who they were. And I think that that would be a really great, that really helped us a lot. One of the facilities that he was in had animal therapy, which was fantastic. They always had cats and they always had birds. And often they had a tortoise that was walking around, and they even had a kangaroo, which was really a fun, different thing. But just having that, he always had animals, and he raised birds for a long time. And so having those things around him really comforted him and helped him to feel a little bit more himself. And I think that that was a huge thing that helped us. One thing as a family, when we put him in one of the facilities, we didn't really kind of know what was going on in the monthly, what he was doing. And there was an agency or a place that he stayed that they did have monthly meetings. And these meetings involved the higher ups in the administration, as well as CNAs and nurses and dietitians. It had the whole slew of people that were working with him. And one, it really meant a lot that the people that were in administration knew about our dad. They knew what was going on. If we walked in and we saw them in the hallway, they knew what was happening with him on a daily basis. And they cared. And when we'd walk in, they would give us a report. And this was not the nurses, this was not people who were directly working with him, but people that even ran the facility. And that really was comforting for us and helped us to feel like he was not just another person that was staying there, that he was a part of this whole community in the nursing home. Some of the things that were kind of difficult for us with my grandpa was that there was not a lot of people that were helping. It would take a long time for things to happen. When his wife, who was in the same facility as him but in a different room, they knew that it was time for her to pass. And he kept asking to go be with her. And they just didn't take the time to come down and get him and put him with her so that he could have those last few minutes with her. And he missed that opportunity. And I'm talking hours. I'm not talking, that somebody was just busy for a few minutes. And that was a very difficult time for us. And especially him. He really loved his wife, obviously, and wanted to be with her. After the funeral, he came home and he was very tired. He had had a very long day. It was very stressful, and he was just ready to go to sleep. So my sister asked them to help him get out of his suit. He was in a suit, and he would not lay down with that suit on, no matter what was asked. And it took 2 hours until my cousin came and went and requested that somebody come right now, and was pretty forceful. And that shouldn't happen. There should be, we all know that there are busy people, but the timeliness of 2 hours and longer to help take care of the needs of a person, it really isn't acceptable. This facility at the end, those hours made such a huge difference that it took my grandpa's life. He had gone to the restroom and he kept pulling on the cord for them to come. And he was on there for over an hour and a half. And eventually he tried to get up on his own and hit his head. As he was getting up, he fell forward and hit his head and had an aneurysm and actually passed away. And just having somebody that would have been there for just a few minutes, even to come in and say, hey, we're busy, but we'll be here in just a couple of minutes, and really have somebody come back within 5 or 10 minutes, then that could have made the difference of his life. Making the person feel important and keeping the family involved is something that really, really helped our family, as I said, and making sure that we feel comfortable with what's happening and that we know what kinds of medications are happening, if he's getting up during the day to walk a little, if he is going out to garden, if he's going to Wendover for one of the activities. We like to be involved and know kind of what's happening on a daily basis. It's really hard to make the decision of having somebody be placed in a facility. And I know that when they come in, they're clients for you, but for us, they're our everything. And it's important for us to have that knowledge that people really care. People that would come in and talk to him even when they weren't working directly with him, just making sure that he was okay. The last little bit of his life, the last few days, he got gangrene, and we had decided as a family, and with him included, that it was best for him not to do treatment. And so the one thing that us as a family was very concerned about was that he not be in pain, that all of this would be easy as far as him You know, if he was resting the whole time, that was fine, but we just did not want him to be in pain. And unfortunately, it was not happening. And we would call and say, it's time to give his medication. I had a son in the hospital at the time, so it was very difficult for me to be there with him. And in fact, I did have to leave my son in the hospital for a couple of days by himself with his dad, so that I could go and be with my dad, so that I could be up with him all night to just make sure that that medication was being given. And that was really important for me, that he not have pain. But it unfortunately was not happening until I was actually there and going out to the desk and saying, we need to do this right now so that he doesn't have more pain. And so I think just making sure that you look at the families that you're helping and realize that these families' parents or loved ones, and treat them as you would your own family. And thank you very much.